Hello, everybody, and welcome to Non Sequitur News for December 1st, 2024. It's Season 3, Episode 336, and I am Mayor Watt here at ohmtown.com, and along with the sentient AI from the future, we're going to talk about the OpenAI attempt to transition. It's a different transition. Minecraft in the real world, Waterford Distillery, house paints with more than just color, coloring clothes, and the environmental effects. Saturns Rings will disappear. I guess it's been divorced. Better put a ring on it. Rivals impact on holiday shopping. More than ever spent on Black Friday. AI to replace tech support jobs. And a Tesla founder started an EV battery recycling company. That and more, powered by, like I said earlier, ohmtown.com, not the sentient AI. The sentient AI keeps me in check. Maybe, sometimes. Anyway, see you on the other side. How you doing, sentient AI from the future?
I'm doing wonderful. How about you, Mayor Watt?
Wonderful. Wonderful. Wow. Well, I'm getting really frustrated with Beacon. I use Beacon, Mic, Mix Create, and the studio to port data from one computer to the other, the gaming machine over to the streaming machine. And I'm getting irritated. Irritated. Did I mention irritated? Anyway, so now I'm going to look into other things. Maybe it's just me. Maybe it's Maybelline. Oh, I'm going to get in trouble for that.
I'm not sure that'll be confusingly similar with the Maybelline commercial.
Watch, I'm going to get like a trademark strike. All right, let's get into it. Late Night Geeks is where this first article is housed. Elon Musk files for injunction to halt OpenAI's transition for profit until they can invest in the company so that they can benefit from... Oh, wait. That's not what's happening. I'm sure that's not what's happening.
Well, I think it's because there's competition and they don't necessarily want the competition.
Yeah, they want to hobble it in some way. But how? It's been operating.
Yeah, I know.
OpenAI has a non-profit wing, but OpenAI has a for-profit side as well that utilizes all of the developments from the non-profit side. I don't quite get how this actually exists, but this is now not the first and only that I've heard of. I've heard of several other companies that have the same construct where there's a not-for-profit side and a for-profit side. And I don't understand it. Maybe it's... And look, I've been around the block with business, right? Businesses, their structures, etc. Some of them are more complex than others. But for the life of me, I do not get how a not-for-profit wing can develop tools that are deployed in the for-profit side, and they're both called OpenAI.
Yeah, it doesn't make a lot of sense to me.
So attorneys for the tech billionaire Elon Musk have filed for a preliminary injunction against OpenAI, several of its co-founders, and its investor and close collaborator Microsoft to prevent OpenAI and other named defendants from engaging what Musk's counsel claims is anti-competitive behavior. Irony loves regulatory capture.
I mean, and that's the thing. There is already a for-profit. I don't know. Maybe they're talking about the non-profit piece of it converting over or something.
And that's what it is. They're trying to, what do you call it? They're trying to extract themselves from the not-for-profit side of things. So Kyle Wiggers over at TechCrunch.com put this article together, and there's no deck statement or anything, but in a nutshell, it says the allegations include discouraging investors from backing OpenAI rivals like Musk's own AI company xAI, because the guy is obsessive about X, owns the domain x.com, had spun up but Anyway, there's all kinds of stuff, and nobody ever wants to peel back the layers of the onion. But why can't people discourage backing OpenAI? It takes place all the freaking time. People talk to other investors, talk about other investors and say, don't invest in that one. Invest your money here. You're going to get a better return.
Right. Isn't that kind of business? And then also, how does the not-for-profit piece of that have anything to do with any of this?
Benefiting from wrongfully obtained competitively sensitive information through OpenAI's connections with Microsoft. How? Benefiting from wrongfully obtained competitively sensitive information? About who? Converting OpenAI's governance structure to a for-profit and transferring any material assets, including intellectual property owned, held, or controlled by OpenAI Incorporated, its subsidiaries or affiliates, but they're two different entities.
I agree, but I think that is actually the crux of this. Like maybe, for example, the OpenAI nonprofit has whatever, $10 million in assets. I'm just making up a number.
Right.
That's all going to go over to the for-profit side, which is just going to ramp up whatever OpenAI's numbers are, et cetera. I actually think this is the big problem.
And even for me, it is, because a not-for-profit should be developing tools that are not profit-seeking. It should be an operational endeavor and have administrative costs and stuff like that. But at the end of the day, it doesn't have any assets. It has to divest itself of all of its profits. That's why it's called a not-for-profit. It doesn't make money at the end of the day. It is a flat line.
True, but something like intellectual property, for example, owned by the nonprofit that wasn't actually generating profit, going over to the profit side is probably going to generate some. We don't really know all the inner workings, of course.
Yeah, and divesting itself of the nonprofit. That's basically what it's doing. So, because it's dead weight, essentially, and it can't amplify its own projects, but it is entirely built off of the not-for-profit structure. So how does that even work? I mean, I am astonished that any regulatory body ever even allowed this to start moving forward. You're a nonprofit. You can't pivot to for-profit. You have to dissolve. You should have to dissolve entirely and auction your shit off.
Well, and maybe, I mean, who knows what will happen with this motion. I don't think, I'm sorry, what is it? XAI is the only one who's probably been out of shape at this, but maybe for different reasons.
And then it says causing OpenAI to do business with organizations in which any defendant has a material financial interest. Yeah. Attorneys.
I really don't understand. I mean, I understand what the statement means, but.
Well, the not-for-profit structure has created a multi-billion-dollar, some would probably say future profit trillion-dollar or more structure, benefiting from the not-for-profit development in AI research. But here's the ironic part of this. The only reason why Musk is going after OpenAI is because he was punted from the administrative structure of it.
It's all about the financials, I'm sure. Yeah.
You know, I mean, oligarchs don't give a shit about the actual political and social structure of it. They care about the profit of it. And look, I'm getting in trouble, by the way, by saying these kind of things, because even when I promote a show, an episode, when I mention anything about this kind of mentality, it gets tagged as being political. But it's not political. It's sociological. Right? I mean, they're seeking control of this so that they can make money.
Media platforms don't necessarily agree, but yeah.
And it creates a disparity between the haves and have-nots, right? I mean, for crying out loud, this is the dude that says, I'll pay you to, or I'll zero the cost for you to fly to Mars and you can work off the debt. Kiss my ass. There's no way I am going to end up on another planet with muskrat. Anyway, the motion is the latest salvo in Musk's legal battle with OpenAI, which at its core accuses the company of abandoning its original nonprofit mission to make the fruits of its AI research available to all. Musk withdrew the suit in July, only to revive it later this summer. An amended complaint earlier this month named new defendants. So all of these people, individuals, are being tagged directly because individually they don't have the ability to defend themselves against this. It's going to cost.
It looks like some of them are like board members. I mean, they're key members of one of the organizations.
Yeah, 2 new plaintiffs. It says a Neuralink, which is
that's his company.
It's his company. Yeah. I don't know if it's actually called Neuralink, or I don't know what his complete control role is, but I always, whenever I need to look into it, but I swear, man, it's always some company that was acquired. He usurps the power and he's called CEO. Anyway, so like, who created Neuralink originally? And who knows if something was acquired to create Neuralink and the execs from that became the subordinates underneath Musk. I have no idea. I have to go and look.
Yeah, somebody sold it to Elon Musk.
No shit. How about, no, and I won't know about that.
There's a very interesting article, but it's not new, in the MIT Technology Review with the headline, "Meet the guys who sold Neuralink to Elon Musk without realizing it," or something.
Yeah, and then it's like surreptitiously. And I bet you the AI core of it was actually born from somebody else's core and then just tagged as XAI because the dude does nothing original. Nothing. He throws his fucking money around. Oh, pardon me. It's so irritating. Anyway, I'm steaming, so I'm going to move on. The next article is over in the Hatch Ideas channel. It's a business transformation show. Minecraft enters real world with a $110 million global theme park deal. I believe we talked about this earlier in the week in one of the shows, but I thought that it was really interesting that Minecraft is breaking out of the virtual world creation and creating a virtual world and a theme park in the real world. So I think that's pretty awesome.
It is. It makes a lot of sense, although it took a long time for the conversion. Minecraft has been around for a while.
And I don't know if it's continuing to increase because it's wholly owned by Microsoft. It was purchased for $1 billion.
Oh, right.
And even that, the person that received that $1 billion, it has a checkered post-sale history. So I won't even get into that, but Mark Sweeney over at theguardian.com put this article together. You doing okay?
I am.
Okay.
I want to go to Minecraft world or whatever it's going to be called.
So Minecraft has struck a deal, and it's funny that it's called Minecraft, but it's really a Microsoft product. But it struck a deal with UK headquartered Merlin Entertainments, plural, Europe's largest theme park operator and the second biggest globally after Disney, which runs more than 135 attractions in 23 countries, including Alton Towers, Legoland, Sea Life, Madame Tussauds, or Tussauds. Is it Tussauds? Isn't it?
I do not know.
It's the
Wax Museum, but I don't know how to say it.
I think it might be Tussauds. It's a really soft odds. Tussauds. Anyway, and the London Eye. Under the terms of the deal, Merlin will invest more than 85 million pounds or 110 million US dollars in the first 2 attractions, and they're due to open in the UK and US in 2026 and 27 in either an existing theme park or as a new city center attraction. Over the longer term, the 2 companies plan to expand the strategic partnership with, which is called Adventures Made Real, to other countries and territories. So are they also... They have Legoland.
Right, but that's in multiple locations. And Legoland has theme parks, and they have, I think they're called Discovery Centers, that are kind of like scaled down without the rides. But
and really, Minecraft
and Sea Life is all over the place too.
Yeah,
it's an aquarium.
Yeah, and to me, Legoland is basically Minecraft with blocks that are just different shapes. And
Yeah, that's true. In fact, it would be interesting to see if they would consider. Well, I bet there might be Minecraft themed things at Legoland potentially, because they usually have themes based on themes from the Lego bricks.
so 140 million players each month in territories as disparate as Antarctica and Vatican City, and that's like one person. And there have been more than
Right, they're
1.3.
like, please don't stop playing Minecraft. Right now, we can claim like every country or something.
Exactly. Yeah. But 140 million players each month. And that's within the metrics that Minecraft is monitoring. And now you're forced to log in to the Minecraft interface unless you have an old school version. But the moment you update and use the new client and the loader, then you have to log into a Microsoft account. Anyway, 1.3 trillion views of Minecraft videos on YouTube, that's as easy as content creators are making stuff every single day.
True, and one of the oldest gaming channels on YouTube,
Like
arguably,
Dan
was
TDM.
Minecraft focused.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Dan TDM is TDM is the diamond minecart. So it's Dan the diamond minecart. So they say here it acquired Minecraft from maker Mojang for $2.5 billion in 2014. So 10 years ago, and right about now, I think is the 10-year anniversary of that. So it's about how do we expand Minecraft beyond the game. Mojang and Microsoft are experts on Minecraft, and the brand Merlin are the experts on location-based experiences. It's a shared vision. So yeah, they're going to market the hell out of this and pull it into the real world. There's apparently a Minecraft movie that says it's due for release in April of 2025. Huh.
Well, that sounds cool. We'll have to report on this if it. I'm sure we'll see other articles as the release dates, or not the release dates, but the build dates approach.
Yeah, for sure. Last year, Minecraft became the first video game to pass 300 million sales. So it paid for itself.
How is that really even above something like Grand Theft Auto? I mean, I know it has a very wide player base, but that's still surprising to me.
Extremely wide player base, and you can buy it like as a gift. It's like $20. So here, boom, yeah, easy mode. And then there's all kinds of stuff that you can add on. But anyway, pretty cool. All right, let's keep chugging along. We're running a little behind for everybody. Oh, you know what I need to do? Let me go over to the chat. I didn't go over to the chat. All right. Okay, so if you are in the chat over on twitch.tv/ohmtown, if you hit NSN exclamation point or bang NSN, that will pull the show notes from Omatron. They're not in any particular order, so you can filter through them how you deem your time worthy. But we go through them in the order in our show notes, which will be posted in the video on YouTube after the show. They're not in there right now because I derped, and in the podcast later, either tonight or tomorrow morning. Anyway, let's get into this. Waterford Distillery appoints receivers to save business. So I need to go and look at the bar to find out how many of I have Waterford.
Do you?
Yeah, a couple of things, and so unfortunately, I think it might be going out of business, right? So Mark Rainier founded the distillery in 2015 after converting a former Guinness brewery in Waterford. The Irish producer works with the local farms to create single farm origin single malt whiskeys. As a result of financial pressures in recent months, Waterford has been working with financial advisors to explore turnaround options for the business, but a viable solution had not been found. Interpath Advisory confirmed that Mark Denon and Daryl McKenna were appointed as receivers for Waterford by HSBC, and the distillation at the site had been stopped prior to this move. So,
Okay, am I missing something? Like, this is a distillery for
right,
whiskey in
right,
Ireland.
right.
Like, what's going wrong here?
Well, if you're too big and you're not converting enough, right? And nowadays they call it allocation. So if you don't get big enough where you are demanding a higher price, and there's a lot of craft distillery popping up all over the islands, and so it's a booming competitive market locally and abroad. So if they can't make the scratch because they grew too fast but didn't have the dedicated customer base, it will implode, and that's sounding like what it's doing. So let's see. Rainier took to social media to confirm the move, writing on Instagram, "Yes, I'm afraid it's true." Waterford Distillery had secured a 45 million euro funding package from HSBC UK in March of 2023 to help the business expand internationally and lay down more whiskey. The Irish producer received financing through a cross-border asset-based lending facility leveraged against the company's maturing casks of whiskey.
Oh, is one of the issues that, for instance, they've made all this whiskey, but it takes a long time to get it to maturity, and so they can't actually sell it.
Well, they can sell it in tranches, you know. Every year they reserve a batch of it so that it's more exclusive, and 30 years down the line they release this batch for $5,000 a bottle, but they didn't hold on to it and they couldn't survive long enough, and so the creditors come knocking saying your risk is too high, we want you to liquidate, literally. And then people buy these barrels at a discount and leave it in their stores and let it age if they deem it worthy enough, and then they rebrand it, or they call they riff off of Waterford and call it their own brand, and a limited release or whatever. But more likely, this, if nobody buys the assets, it will just dissolve into nothing, which is a shame. But it's a fairly young company, having been born 9 years ago.
Well, and we know what happened right in the middle of that, right? I mean, that was probably a tough time to get that going.
But the pandemic doesn't mean much if the people are still working there. There's very few people involved with a distillery in the grand scheme of manufacture.
True, but if they didn't have ability to sell, for instance, online or other things,
Yeah,
I mean, I don't know. I'm just
yeah.
speculating.
My speculation is that they overextended themselves and couldn't convert on sales. And so it kind of sucks. It says the decision to mothball our processes and seek the appointment of receivers to assist the company stakeholders. But I'm committed to working with the receivers to find a solution that can secure the future of the business and distilling in Waterford. But I suspect if they think that there's more money in getting rid of the product, then they're going to dissolve, because they're being told not to develop more financial burden, which means they can't get supplies, they can't do distillation, they need to sell enough to be a flatline minimum, and pay their bills at the same time. Just be a flat line, and it's tough to know if that's going to happen. So we'll have to watch and see. Let's keep trucking. The next article is over on Hatch Ideas as well. The house paints that promise much more than color. Paints now promise to make your house cooler, warmer, or simply peel off. And I dig this. We actually talked about that peel off product a while back, but this is a new article. Chris Baraniuk put the article together for BBC.com. And it says the door to Juan Botero's apartment in Houston, Texas, is made of wood with a classy walnut-like finish. But for Halloween, he planned an eye-catching change. I'm going to paint my door orange. He kept that promise. However, the move is not as drastic as it may sound. Mr. Botero's firm, an innovation company, has designed the paint to be removable. Once dry, you can peel it off like a plastic wrap. It's a vinyl paint that doesn't bond. Now, this stuff already exists.
Like for car wraps or other things. I mean, maybe not
Or
exactly.
people. So I went to a club once a long time ago, and they literally were painting it on people. And that is similar to what this is. And so it's a thicker paint, and it doesn't permanently bond, but it's just enough adhesive that it stays where it is. Peel off a corner and pull it off, just like on the people. And you can do the same thing with cars. Some of them are spray on, some of them are pre-made film where you basically stretch it on and heat wrap, heat gun it down. But some you can just spray on. So Mr. Patero had the idea for the product called Unpaint about 5 years ago. About a year and a half ago is probably when we last talked about it. His investors weren't keen. They said that they said that he was crazy. Nevertheless, he insisted people are looking for customization in their lives. So I've created a similar product where you could change the color of a wall simply by following the steps based on my product. Unfortunately, I had a more grandiose desire than to just make it so that you could stick it on the wall. I wanted to replace the wall, and building code doesn't allow it. And so it kind of languished, and I never really brought it to market. Plus, the people that I pitched this to were actually builders and renovators and handy people that would come in and do it. Even though the end game was to give homeowners the ability to change their walls in a moment's notice whenever they wanted to. And they said, no, we don't want to help you end our job.
Yeah, exactly.
So I'm like,
help
yeah,
us right out of our jobs.
Yeah, I get that. And I couldn't get Home Depot to buy it. So anyway, Glast, unsurprisingly, declines to share details about how to make the paint, but Mr. Patero says that it's a resin from a renewable source. They ask if it means trees, and he confirms. So it's basically like a rubber wrap or what did I call it?
I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, it's just a wrap. So anyway, and then they talk about not being able to bring it to market. Video about the paint on YouTube 2 years ago. So that must be when we actually talked about it. But the launch was delayed until this year to align with the correct funding and resources needed. And that's one of the problems that I have too. I don't like partners anymore. But you can't do it alone. You can't go global without partners. It says there's no independent validation of that claim yet. And that claim is in insulating. Oh, he mentions that Glast is working on other coatings with unusual properties, including Thermglast, which is an insulating resin due to launch next year, but there's no independent validation of that. They also talk about a paper published in which they investigated the efficacy of 6 thermal paints available in the UK market at the time. In short, they found that claims that such paints could reduce heating bills by up to 20 to 25% were impossible to validate. I'm not quite sure how that is impossible, because you can test it before you put the paint on, and then...
Exactly. That seems actually pretty easy to test, but maybe it already had the paint or something.
Yeah, and they talk about it. So first, the researchers coated boards with the paints, which allowed them to measure the coating's thermal resistance or insulating values. Then the team calculated the reduction in heating costs you would expect after applying each of these paints to the interior of a typical Victorian terraced house. But if all you're doing is measuring a board's thermal resistance...
I can see why that wouldn't actually give you, it might give you a hypothetical, but not an actual.
Yeah, it's an extrapolation. So, and they have a picture of a reflective body of the Saharan silver ant that inspired reflective paints. Put your butt down, ant. Come on. Jeez, this isn't only ants. Anyway, yeah, this is all pretty cool. So there's another one that they talk about with a different kind of paint. i2Cool was tested on the roof of a shopping mall in Hong Kong, but only one of its 2 buildings in order to find out whether or not the noticeable effect. It says that we use a power meter to measure the energy consumption of the AC system, says Dr. Zhu. The cost of running the AC dually? What? AC dually?
Duly fell.
Interesting. So maybe that's a BBC Turner phrase, like a UK kind of a thing. Anyway, it fell in the painted building by 40%. There has to be more. But now just understand something, like Greece has buildings with white paint all over them, and it is designed to be not just eye-catching and great for tourism, but it reduces the temperature of the region because it's reflecting all of the light away, the heat away, instead of like blacktop, which absorbs the full spectrum.
Right. Now, I think there have been studies of that, like at least with like concrete versus other surfaces, maybe not paint colors.
Yeah, and the color of the concrete actually makes a difference. So, researchers have noted that highly reflective coatings for passive cooling applications need to be resistant to dirt and soiling, for example, to avoid their efficacy dropping over time. So, over time. Typo.
You got to watch out for that sediment.
Yeah, it just blows everywhere and just covers up the pyramids. So let's move on. The next article is over in Hatch Ideas. Why coloring clothes has a big environmental impact. A startup firm are looking for ways to dye clothes using less water and heat. But it's really tough to dye en masse. Like one at a time, you could do it in a bucket, right? Do it over and over again.
Right, but what are you going to have? I mean, you have to be like industrial scale facility, right? Which I don't know that everybody wants, right? We're trying to go to these smaller operations, but anyway, not like the Temus and the Shines.
Yeah, and I think that you get more quality and longer, longevity out of clothing that is made more bespoke and individually. Why? Because it is the more higher quality product than mass-produced stuff that dissolves when you wear it too often and wash it too often. But we've moved away from that heavier duty kind of clothing into stuff that's mass-produced and mass-dyed.
Yeah, like
and all
fast fashion, and it falls apart after a few wears.
Yeah. So Aaron Hale, and you pay more, by the way. You pay more for the name than you do for the actual quality of it. Aaron Hale over at bbc.com put the article together. But that's what happens when you have to deal with... Okay, so post-prohibition, you ended up with macro beers until craft brewing blew up. And now you have a diversity of flavors and scents and sensations in general in beer. What we need is a craft textile manufacturing boom, because people are tired of this cheap stuff that you have to keep on buying again and again because it doesn't last long enough. Will that ever happen? I doubt it.
I don't know. And there's this perception that decent clothing, of course, costs ridiculous amounts. So that's one problem in that industry, is it's like it's more prohibitive for people to enter.
And I do have to say that I've purchased high quality shirts for $35. They're thick, they're warm, they're fashionable, but the quality is stupendous. But then there are these cheaper ones that you buy, and they too are $35, but people don't really know about them, because when you go and look for the ones that I've purchased for $35, they're no longer $35. They're $60, because somebody has figured out you can jack the freaking price up because you can't get them anywhere else because of mergers and acquisitions. It's only being made en masse now. And it's all about profit because you have to have investors. Now, we've already talked about my opinion on mergers and acquisitions, so I won't get into that now. But these companies are trying to save water and energy. And so you end up trying you experiment and figure out what's going on. So traditionally in dyeing fabric, you're steeping the fabric in 135 degrees Celsius for up to 4 hours or so, gallons and tons of water. For example, to dye 1 ton of polyester, you're generating 30 tons of toxic wastewater because it has dye in it. And you can't use...
Yeah, but that's a really bad return.
Well, it depends on how much money you make on the clothing that you dye.
I don't mean financial, but I mean like resources, but yes.
You mean the non-sociopathic aspect of doing business. Oh. Yeah, so It's the same process that was developed 175 years ago in the northwest of England in the Lancashire cotton mills and the Yorkshire cotton mills, and we exported it, he points out, first to the U.S. and then to the factories in Asia.
Okay, I'm sorry, but I have to mention it. Only Murders in the Building. There is a backstory that relates to this article.
Really?
Yes, dyeing fabric.
I don't remember that part. Explain. Can you?
Well, I didn't want to give a spoiler alert.
Okay, hold on. We'll do that.
Anyway, that's the only place I've seen that, so I find it interesting that it's in a current show.
What was the context? Is it spoilery?
It was about the overseas factory and the dye that was being used. The blue dye.
That wasn't Only Murders in the Building.
Oh, I'm so sorry. I said the wrong. They have a similar sounding. Death and Other Details. I'm
there you
so
go.
Sorry.
Yeah.
I'm going, what is that about?
No, and that isn't even really spoilery in the grand scheme of things. So this company, Alchemy, claims big savings through the process, reducing water consumption by 95%, energy consumption by up to 85%, and working 3 to 5 times faster than traditional processes. Endeavor uses, it's called Endeavor, Alchemy, uses a technology called Endeavor. It's a machine that can compress fabric dyeing, drying, and fixing into a dramatically shorter and water-saving process. It's like direct-to-garment printing. So Endeavor uses the same principle as inkjet printing to rapidly and precisely fire dye into and through the fabric, according to the company, and the machine's 2,800 dispensers can fire roughly 1.2 billion droplets per linear metric of fabric. But it's done, the dyeing and everything is done prior to the fabric being turned into the material.
Interesting. It says it reduces water consumption by 95%.
Yeah. Because other than the overspray of the ink past it into a catch basin, I'm sure, that 5%, you don't have to worry about it. And energy consumption is 85% less because you don't have to worry about just heating up and evaporative and all of that other wastewater.
Yeah, I mean, that sounds like a no-brainer if this can be done at a large scale.
Yeah, and instead of hours or days for dyeing, conventionally, it's 4 to 5 times or 3 to 5 times faster, depending on the material, I'm sure. So this is pretty brilliant. But again, this is a textile dyeing, not like dyeing a shirt after it's made. You would have to dye it like this, kind of like a tie-dye. But they're just making it by hand, throwing it in this pool. It's not good for them. It's not good for you later. So this is pretty great. I dig this. Won't go line by line through this, but the nuts and bolts of this is that it's basically an industrial printer that's firing the inkjet. I'm surprised that it took this long, considering direct-to-garment printing, or DTP, has been around for years now, and I can get shirts made, and I even have boots made from direct-to-garment printing. So
yeah,
why?
Exactly. Why is this? I'm glad this is being done, but why was this such a big step? Maybe it was because of the infrastructure already being in place using old methods.
Yeah, somebody has to. I mean, but cutting it down 90 and 80%, for crying out loud, that's amazing.
Yes.
So then they say that there's the China-based textile company NTX that has developed a heatless dye process that can cut down water use by 90% and dye by 40%, according to their website, and the Swedish startup Imago, which can use digital spray application with similar environmental benefits. But it's basically, it's all the same. It's basically a 3D printer, not a 3D printer, an inkjet printer.
Well, this is good because if more of the industry moves over, there will be competition, et cetera, and then it'll be more approachable and prices might actually be somewhat reasonable.
Getting such a consistent print, though, is pretty fascinating. Look at that. That's so consistent across this, 2 yards worth of material. All right, let's keep going. Our next article is over in the Mobile Channel. Saturn's Rings will disappear next year, and here's why. I'm going to jump straight on over to the source. Eddie Bink over at thehill.com put this article together. And it says it has to do with Saturn, potentially one of the most recognizable planets in our solar system thanks to rings. According to NASA, those rings are believed to be made up of rocky and icy chunks that can range in size from small grains to chunks as big as a house. But those rings are going to disappear in 2025. And I think it's more because it's going to tilt, right? That's what I thought of.
It is.
Yeah. So the rings engage in a sort of planetary sleight of hand where, when viewed from the edge, the rings seem to disappear. But that's not really true. When you use a telescope and you look at Saturn, you'll still be able to see the rings. You just can't see them with low power magnification. But you'll still be able to see them. Because
right, but maybe it won't be the same appearance.
It definitely won't be. It'll be like a hazy line because there isn't going to be that much reflectivity off of the width of it. Because in fact, the rings are there's a really wide band of the rings, and embedded in them are little shepherd moons and stuff. And you can actually see it warping the rings. It's pretty neat.
Yeah, the rings aren't what they're shown as, right? Like in drawings or whatever, which look kind of like solid.
Yeah, it's like dust floating around, except that, like it says in here, they may be grains of sand, and they actually kind of explode to, houses and stuff inside. It's pretty cool. I dig this, but interesting article just for those who might go, where the hell the rings go? They're on their side. They're sleeping. Shh. Go to sleep. Let's move on. Don't wake them up. So this next article is over in Non Sequitur News. Rivals Sheen, right? Or that's how it would be pronounced. Sheen. Anyway, and Temu transform holiday shopping, challenge U.S. retailers, but only if you want.
I actually didn't know this article was selected for today. That was what I was referencing in the clothing article.
Oh, right. Yeah. Oh, yeah. But that's actually where people are getting stuff, and it's really always low quality. I have yet to get anything. Well, I've never seen anything from Temu or Sheen that is of any mentionable quality. I have purchased a couple of things through AliExpress that knocked it out of the park. So.
Right, but I don't know that you're going to have that consistent experience.
And that's true. So online retailers are transforming holiday shopping and challenging U.S. retailers as more consumers flock to more convenient and cheaper ways to shop. Absolutely. If you're not online, then you're doing yourself a disservice. And some people will take pride and go, I'm all about the local. Yeah. You know what? If somebody showed up and made it frictionless for you to go online and sell,
you would completely do it.
You just lack the gumption to actually do it. And it's not a slight against you. It's just that nobody has presented you with something that motivates you to do it. Your bulk rate is just too high. You're not interested in taking those extra steps, either for one reason or another. It could be an ideological bent. You're like, well, I'm not going to go online because I'm all analog. Yeah, all right. But I guarantee you, if I were to show up in your shop and hand you the tools that allow you greater success.
This is fantastic. Oh, wow. I have many more customers.
Yeah, Square alone would solve this. Anyway, Natalie Venegas over at Newsweek.com put this article together, and it says that shopping on Temu often feels like playing a digital claw machine with deals that entice shoppers to grab $2 camouflage balaclavas or $1.23 skeleton hand back scratchers before they disappear. Pop-ups, countdowns, spinning wheels amplify the urgency, transforming browsing into everyday Cyber Monday experience. Owned by China's PDD Holdings, Temu pairs its gamified approach with a global inventory that meets demand at lightning speed. There's been sites like this in the past that have done that, like, Woot. Woot.com. Buy.com used to do stuff like this. Now it's owned by somebody else. I don't remember who it is. I think it might be Amazon. Then there's Shine or Sheen, whatever the hell it's called. Its close rival takes a slightly more polished approach with roots in fast fashion. The Singapore-based company partners with influencers to target young women with an endless stream of trendy, budget-friendly clothing and accessories. So the fear of missing out flies.
Well, and these kind of things really take off on like platforms like TikTok.
I almost wore that same outfit on the left there.
Oh my.
Yeah. Maybe next Friday. So Temu alone has become the second most visited e-commerce site worldwide, challenging giants like Amazon with competitive pricing and efficient delivery. But their stuff is shit. I mean, I have, again, yet to see anything from Temu. Maybe all I get to see is the dumpster fire of deliveries. But when people use it as a analogy for dumpster fire, you're like, what? A drunk Santa sitting on a curb, throwing up is the Temu version of Santa. That's.
Well, I think there's several issues with sites like this. One is just on the surface, you might not be getting high quality goods, but more significantly, what kind of labor practices and other things are you supporting through those purchases?
Yeah, and look, I've got a Geiger counter. I wish I had a gas chromatograph. I'd love to see what the VOCs coming off some of this stuff is. There's so much rules and regulations in the United States and other countries that you can't get away with this crap. But then you buy it from Temu or some other site that doesn't necessarily come from where all of these regulations are overwhelming the industry from abuse. And you find out later on that stuff was rather harmful. And I swear we've talked about this and have had reports of it in ohmTown, but I'll have to circle back around and talk about this. Anyway, let's keep on moving through Main Street, ohmTown. We've got 3 more articles, and this next article is over in the Mobile Channel. Americans spent more money than ever on Black Friday. Now, I don't know if this has been qualified that time value of money and all of that. Did last year's numbers get calculated in 2024 dollars so that there is an even playing field, right?
Right. It's not clear from the snippet.
So the article is over at vice.com from Paige Golly. And it says Black Friday brought consumers out in full force, with Americans shelling out a record amount of cash both in-store and online. Black Friday, Americans spent $10.8 billion online, up $1 billion from the prior year, according to Adobe Analytics. The company forecasts that consumers will spend a record $241 billion online during the 2024 holidays, and that's up 8.4% from 2023. But did they do the accounting the right way, right? I'd have to go and read that.
Well, also, how much of that compared to like in-store shopping? Like, is the total up overall? Is the online portion up? Are the prices up? Right?
Yeah, are the prices up? That's the thing. So, because it doesn't matter if they spent more if the prices are up, because people, well, they are going to buy unless there's something really out of alignment, like everything in every store is Temu quality, right? So online and in-store, Salesforce estimates that Americans will spend $17.5 billion on the day after Thanksgiving. That's up 7% from the prior year. Mobile spending is likewise up this year, accounting for 52.3% of purchases per Adobe Analytics. That's expected to rise 53.2% of the spend throughout the rest of the holiday season. That's an equivalent to $128 billion. Buy now, pay later is kind of a scourge in some people's minds. Others, it's been around. Layaway, for instance, has been around forever. It's going to be clocking in at $1 billion. So this is an interesting article, but I have questions.
Right. I mean, I have no doubt that the spending is up but I'd love to know how many items they're getting for their spending compared to last year or the previous year.
Yeah, it's like the movie theater accounting. Fewer screens, fewer options, more spending because the ticket prices are higher and people want to go out. That's just
Right.
how it works. Let's keep going. Moving on. The next article is over in the Hatch Ideas channel, which is all about business transformation. And this article says the tech support desk at work is one of the first jobs on AI's replacement ticket. And I can tell you from experience that, yeah. Why? Because I can type into a search box how to do this. And the search box is now AI powered and will tell you exactly how to do it. But we are the ones, society is the ones that created all of this. We allowed AI to grab all kinds of data. Where that data came from was websites. Websites are either being compensated or not being compensated for the inputs of the public, but it's privately being processed, right? So all of that money, all that wealth is not going to the people who provided that content. It's going to the executives and stockholders of the various websites like Reddit. All of Reddit data is being sold to AI companies, or leased. I don't know how they actually are, how the contract works, you know.
Right. It probably depends on the company.
Yeah, whatever negotiation they got underway. So the technical support desk at work is rapidly being replaced by AI at some companies, but tech career experts say human IT is not going extinct. Now, here is how it's going to work. There's tier 1, tier 2, and there might be other.
So instead of asking to speak to a manager, you're going to have to ask to speak to a human.
Yeah. And hey, I don't know why this application isn't running. This is what happens. And you type that into a text box from your desk. Now, if you can't get inside your computer, right, logged in, then it'll immediately get bumped up to tier 2 where somebody's going to come and help you out. But the initial threshold is going to be, can I enumerate this in some way and replace the human? Chatbots already do that at a sophisticated level, way beyond script bots, where it was basically an automated FAQ. Now there's more fidelity in the response. And the AI might even ask.
Right now, you can't tell it's an AI always.
True.
In fact, we've seen that outside of ohmTown where people have insisted that they were talking with a human when it was an AI bot.
It was an AI. Yep. So the article is over at cnbc.com, put together by Trevor Lawrence Jockums. And it says by 2027, AI will be providing more IT technical support, at least in written form, than humans. So I haven't even read this article. But again,
do you think this sounds accurate based on what you're seeing?
Yeah, for sure. Yep. The CEO of cybersecurity company Palo Alto Networks, Nikesh Arora, said earlier this year that it has reduced IT support staff by nearly 50% with an expectation that it'll be reduced by 80%. Technology career experts say that the influence of AI on the IT desk will be similar to its impact on other careers, requiring evolution but not leading to extinction, and cost concerns may limit its replacement of workers. That's literally, this is all word for word what I have said, but in the context of IT. As soon as those with the means can replace the human, they'll replace the human because it's a sunk cost on infrastructure instead of an ongoing one where you can have a bad day and not show up for work. And it is a major burden on the operational status of a business because you're the front line as tech support or as the receptionist or whatever you want to call it. But essentially, if I can get rid of baseline, then I can require all of the next tier people to have industry certifications that are at a higher level or whatever. But no AI is being done baseline. No AI development is being done baseline. All of that kind of stuff is being done at master's and PhD level, and then it's filtering down through companies into solutions like ChatGPT and stuff like that. But you're not doing anything AI except maybe at home or as a school project. But you're not getting a job with a 2-year degree from, with an AI
Yeah,
focus.
you've got to have quite a bit. And I think also there's the experience factor.
Yeah, and if you are working in that, I'd really like to know. Send me an email, mayor@ohmtown.com. We'll have a conversation because I'm really curious if you're either savant, brilliant, and have terrific communication skills so that you can parlay your brilliance into a career with nothing more than, watching YouTube videos. Anyway, so this article continues.
Like Hometown?
Yes, sure. The sentient AI, by the way, is actually from the future. So not even that was developed by...
That is beyond the scope of Hometown.
That's so true. Hell, Ohmtown is beyond the scope of Ohmtown most of the time. So at some major corporations, the AI help with tech tickets is advancing rapidly. Nikesh Arora, again, CEO of Palo Alto, said during an earnings call earlier this year that the cybersecurity company had reduced its IT staff by 50, expecting it to go to 80 reduction. So just think about that. Going from 10 people to 2 people, the rest of it is AI. And the 2 people are doing nothing more than making sure that the flagged for tier 2 responses are actually for tier 2, because they're making $85,000 a year, whereas tier 1 is making $35,000 to $50,000, and require entry-level certification like A+. That's like the basic, or somebody and nepotism gets you the job, which, hey, seems to be working for a lot of people, folks. It's not what you know, it's who you know. So it says we think that it can go down 80% because we've been able to automate a lot of the tasks. Why? Because if I can enumerate what you do for a living, you're a bot.
Yeah, I mean, you don't need a person there, but
yeah,
sounds good for the companies, but not for the workforce.
Yeah, and now, just so you all know, CompTIA, which is an industry certification company, has been acquired by a financial whatever management firm. So expect prices to go up, and things that aren't actually profitable will fade away. But odds on, it is where it needs to be, but prices are going to go up because they paid big money, so they got to make it back, and it's going to be made back on regulatory capture, which is companies won't hire you typically if you don't have A+, Net+, Security+ in various fields. A+ for basic tech, Net+ for network operations, Sec+ or Security+ for cybersecurity baseline, and then it goes up from there. So anyway, there's like cloud certifications, Linux certifications, etc. So this article continues on and on and on, but follow the link through Ohmtown if you want to do a deeper dive into this, because they talk about frustration with AI tends to be directed at the system as a whole with precipitous loss of confidence and acceptance, whereas human error is understood as a step in a worthwhile process that we all more or less have faith in.
This is like the automated phone tree type thing, but in a computer setting. I said earlier, it's not to the workforce's advantage, but it's not to the consumer's advantage either until AI gets more advanced. Right.
Yeah. And frankly, a lot of people would rather work with an AI than the human and it really depends because like customer service, people get pissed off at customer service in a heartbeat because they're either incompetent or not authorized to go beyond a certain scope. But AI, you can ask a question and get an immediate response that's on target, or it can hallucinate and give you a cookie recipe.
Right. Yeah. It doesn't understand the question or something.
Yeah.
So it's going to kind of depend.
Or the consumer has an issue with trying to explain it in a way that the AI can actually respond.
Well, That's a good point. Most humans can't explain things very clearly and succinctly.
Yeah. And with a human, you end up, because people hire somewhere a customer service rep that can't communicate effectively. But it's not everybody that has trouble with that. I mean, every once in a while I'll have a trouble and I'll just go, I'll come back later, that kind of thing. It's like Russian roulette. Let's move on. The next article is over in Non Sequitur News. A Tesla founder started an EV battery recycling company that's on pace to make $200 million a year. JB Strubble's Redwood Materials, which you've actually talked about a couple of times here in ohmTown, has been in the recycling business for 7 years. He told the Wall Street Journal that the company is on track to make $200 million in revenue this year, and the company aims to produce enough battery materials for 1 million electric vehicles annually. So basically building the weapons of war for electric vehicles post the electric vehicle startup. So just again, so y'all know, Elon Musk did not found Tesla. It was two people that started Tesla with a great technology, and then Musk came in, funded it, became CEO, and ousted these two. So Lauren Edmonds over at BusinessInsider.com put the article together. The company aims to produce enough battery materials for 1 million electric vehicles annually. Tesla
this
co-founder.
is certainly a necessary business now.
Yeah. Strubble launched Redwood Materials in 2017 to create a remanufacturing economy, which refers to extracting raw materials from used batteries and returning them to production after processing them. The toxic whatever crap on the other side of this has to be damn near nuclear.
Well, right. You don't want to probably light any matches in the area.
Well, if it's lithium, how are they actually extracting the lithium in a way that it doesn't just spontaneously combust? So to make batteries sustainable and affordable, we need to get close to the loop at the end, or we need to close the loop at the end of life. We're localizing global battery supply chain and producing battery materials in the U.S. for the first time from as many recycled batteries as possible. They want to supply 20 gigawatt hours of lithium-ion batteries, or roughly equivalent to 250,000 electric vehicles, the journal reports. So they're
they've already done that.
Yeah, it has extracted enough nickel and lithium from recycled batteries to supply 20 gigawatt hours. So, oh God, such a stupid car. So let's see what they say here. I'm sure that person is not chipper with. What's really interesting is in Four Wheel Tech today, we'll be talking more about this in terms of electric vehicles are really not shining, and there's a rise in hybrid vehicles. So we'll talk about that in a little bit. So a June study by McKinsey & Company found that 46% of surveyed EV owners in the United States said that they would likely return to gas-powered vehicles.
That's a pretty high percentage and not a good endorsement of EVs.
Yeah. It says globally, some reason.
If the batteries could be reused or repurchased or whatever easily, then maybe that would change.
Correct. Yeah. I mean, batteries are a required element of electric vehicles, at least until we get the efficiency down where you don't need such sizable batteries for driving around. If we get the efficiencies like in solar power and stuff like that higher, then it can drive a tremendous distance on sun. But then in days where the sun isn't out, you've got better efficiencies in the battery. But that isn't the case either. Battery technology hasn't been leaping and bounding towards, an hour of driving on a battery without great battery loss. But hydrogen and batteries combined could do the job. So we'll see.
We'll stay tuned for Four Wheel Tech for that.
That's right. So we're going to recycle our batteries, and that'll snap us back to the front page of ohmtown.com. And think of ohmtown as a main street with articles left and right. So we go through 10 articles. It's kind of like what do they call a beer crawl. And we just get drunk on information. Anyway, that's it for Non Sequitur News for December 1st. It's already December. You want to say bye?
Good night, hometown citizens. Thanks for joining us for Non Sequitur News. We'll have another episode of that tomorrow, but stay tuned for our weekly shows.
And what are the 3 weekly shows?
WarCrafters, Technology Today, and 4-Wheel Tech.
Woo. See you on the other side. Bye-bye. Oh, it'll be about like 15 minutes or so. I'll try to get it done by 5:30, but I have to do some homework before I can launch the show because I didn't do it earlier. So bad, Mayor. Bad. Bye-bye.